when you have a price issue or you want to overcome objections, try to overcome them before the client presents them, because they'll have an internal monologue when you're speaking about these objections, and they won't say anything until you prompt it, normally with your pre-close or your buying questions. Are they going to buy? It really depends, but they won't bring them up until the time comes, because they're holding them as objections or reasons to not buy, because people are trained to resist, especially salespeople. People are trained to lie, people are trained to deny or not, be forthwith. And if they were just gonna buy it, they'll just say, tell me what the price is, I'll buy it. You gotta be really careful of that, because you didn't overcome any objections. And if you haven't stated what the price is early, they don't know what their expectation is. So always be prepared for objections. And if they're price related, get your price out early. The second thing you can do is not only believe your price, but price condition them early so that none of those objections come out, because you're eliminating them before they can become a thing. So if I told you, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Customer, normally our average projects could be for any widget, doesn't matter. The average widget, is going to run you between $7,000 and $10,000. There's a possibility that it could be lower, but there's also a possibility that it could be higher. That's kind of our average range. Does that price make sense to you? And just see what they say. If they go, oh, well, I was thinking like $4,000. And I would just say, without missing a beat, no, okay, I mean, some are less, that does happen, but the normal range is 7,000 to 10,000. I'd expect you to be somewhere probably in that range. Let's take a look at it and see. You're not saying no, you're out of the range. You're simply saying that you're probably a little low. A $4,000 comparable to a $7,000, that's not a huge gap. That's $3,000. That's not a big deal. What I'm saying is you want to watch out for the person that you drop that price on. You say, oh yeah, the average is 7,000 to 10,000. And the person's like, well, I was thinking $1,000. Well, you could never get to that price. And you know that. So you say to them, well, what options were you really looking for? And what kind of made you arrive at that price? What caused that? Did someone, possibly inform you incorrectly? Were you doing some internet research? And the reason I ask that is I'm just trying to find out, kind of what you're thinking, because I don't want to go through a presentation or explain all this and find out either it's not something you really want, or it's way out of your budget or your cost that you expect. And all you're doing is you're stopping that objection, because the worst thing that can happen is you don't ask that question. It's going to be $7,000 to $10,000, and you hit them with a $9,000 price, because that's where they are, and they were thinking $1,000. Well, you just wasted everyone's time, because you can't get down to $1,000. And even if you have a drop product, chances that's too low. You know what I mean? Like you gotta be careful with what you're selling and what you're doing. Every situation is different. Now, in insurance and other products, I would have switched them to something else. You could manipulate the product or what they actually want to fit into their budget. You never ever want to ask them, hey, what's your budget? You want to make sure you're lining it up so that you are defeating price objections. That's it. Defeat price objections. How do you do that? You state that price early, like I just mentioned. Because now they have it in their mind, oh, this is going to be $7,000 to $10,000. Well, you will have people that will say automatically, nope, I'm not buying that. And then I look at them and say, okay, I break it down. What makes you say that? And, is it a budget question? Is it a value question? Is it not worth that to you? And if it is not, I understand, I will leave. And then you just do a takeaway, I will leave. And if they say, yep, you can get out of here, say, no problem. It's not worth the 3% or 5% of people you actually sell, because they're already giving you so much resistance. Where if they say, oh yeah, that makes perfect sense. Well, now you have a high probability of selling, or if that makes perfect sense, something else is going to be the big objection, if there is one at all. And that's all you're trying to do, is flush out the objections way before they happen, and then set up a scenario where you can close the business in a way that makes sense, a way that's ethical, in a way that they understand. And you have to do those steps. The number one step, state the number as early as you can. Believe your own pricing so it's believable, meaning you know it costs that much. And then price condition. Mention the price many times. Mention different prices. So why that matters is I always tell people, hey, this project's normally going to be somewhere between $7,000 and $10,000. And I say if you don't get it, if you don't do it, the damage could be worth $50,000 to $100,000. Or the problem, to fix this, the average XYZ widget, once there's a problem, is double that cost. So it makes sense to buy it earlier before you had the problem to save yourself that extra money. All you're trying to do is get rid of their ability to say, oh, this costs too much, or oh, it's out of my budget, or oh, I don't see the value in this. If they don't see the value in what you're trying to sell, you're always going to get a price objection because they value their money more than they value your product or your service. Just keep that in mind. Defeat the objections before they occur.